he's going to have to see that he repeated things. My talk is called Even If We Don't Win, We Can't Lose. And I think it's very, very important that this is how we view the World Design Capital. South Africans are such a competitive bunch. Every time we present why are we bidding and the significance of it, everyone puts up their hand and says, so what are our chances? I mean, do we have a hope in hell? And I think it's really important to look at the journey, which doesn't mean that I don't think our chances are really good. So I want to start with a bit of a parable about a hard city. It was all about technology and efficiency and not a very human city. It did things very fast and in a very efficient kind of way. It looked a bit like this. And probably decided that for efficiency's sake, let's just take the river that runs down the middle of our city and let's build a big highway over it. We actually need 3 more lanes. Thought that was a brilliant idea. And actually could have just replaced all its citizens with lovely little robots, because really that's the kind of city they were designing. And the people of the place started to think, where do we fit into this plan? Because we don't see ourselves reflected. We don't see our roots reflected, we don't see our problems reflected, while we see our city forging ahead to be an Asian tiger and take on the new economy. And so in 2008, 1 million people took to the streets about a relatively small thing, importing beef from the US at a time of mad cow disease, and really it was just a catalyst for people are not listening to us, we don't have a place anymore in our city. But 1 million people, that's a lot of people. And then this place became World Design Capital 2010. Seoul. What was really interesting is at the same time as all of this unrest and all of this really insensitive and inhuman development, some good mayors were listening to their people and they were starting to do rather good things. 2005, 2006. But they didn't really have a platform to explain it, and they didn't really have a big global high impact framing idea to fast track some of the good work that was done and to put forward a business case of what it will mean for us if we start to change the way we create the city and the way the city evolves, and we start to involve our people a little bit more. And so probably the starting point for Seoul was to say, how do we tell our story of modernity, but not forget our history and our culture, which was really getting left far behind as something twee and something old hat and something from the past, not something competitive. So myself, Bolelwa and Felicity Purchase were incredibly privileged in 2010 actually to go to Seoul for the World Design Cities Summit. And one of the most inspiring exhibitions was called the Seoul Design Assets exhibition. It was unbelievable because they took their design assets from the beginning of the first artifact that was created in Seoul all the way to the wonderful modern buildings and the Samsung laptops, etc., etc. And even the way things were presented was amazing. The one thing that I loved was that instead of the way you get at the V&A in London, the dusty cabinets that you must stay away from with all the kimonos from the last 1,000 years, they just had a blank kimono made out of canvas hanging on a bamboo rod, and they projected onto it kimono designs through the ages. And you literally saw from the literal little cherry blossom became something big. So zooming in, being a bit more expressionist, turning into graphic little blocks. And it was so inspiring. You really got their design story and you understood the miraculous evolution of the kimono and how that's informed so much else of what they do. But it was just a projection. It was cheap to do. It was a PowerPoint projected onto a canvas kimono, a blank canvas. And for me, that was really interesting. I have an 8-year-old son, and I knew he would spend hours in this museum as much as anybody else. And that really was an important thing to understand. So really just putting design on the agenda for Seoul, people starting to queue to see their own history and heritage, wonderful exhibitions going back to some of the craft and the really ancient design techniques, but still highly contemporary. And then, of course, if you've got lots of money, one kick-ass development, a design museum by Zaha Hadid, which when you're in the East, that's also how you solve some of the problems of putting yourself on the map. It happens to be a very beautiful, very inspiring design. This is the building as it's happening, and what I think they've done so beautifully is all the scaffolding tells the story of why they're doing it, why it's important, what it means for citizens. So Seoul have very much used the World Design Capital as an opportunity to tell a story. So, not that this is the ultimate measurement of success, Seoul, number 7 best city by wallpaper. 5 years before that, they wouldn't have featured at all. More inspiring, this is that highway. It was demolished and turned into a green zone for the people of Seoul. And here they are gathering around a beautiful waterway in the middle of their city and enjoying it. And this is what it looks like at night. It's incredibly beautiful. And in fact, in some sections, they've left the highway pillars to just remember the mistakes that they made. And I think that's really inspiring considering some of our unfinished business. And so really most significantly, Seoul could position themselves as the soul of Asia, from being the soulless, robotic, inhuman, inconsequential in terms of the knowledge economy and a more human world city. And they've measured the happiness index over the last 10 years and it's gone up. I think that's a great measurement, and we as Cape Townians could start measuring the things we do as a city and as citizens and as private and public sector against a happiness index that includes everybody's happiness. And of course, this is the happy mayor who had the presence of mind to say, World Design Capital is what we're going to back, and we're going to do it, and we're going to get everyone behind it, and we're going to make it happen for Seoul. And here he is handing over the baton to Helsinki, World Design Capital 2012. So where does that leave Cape Town? Our design story is a very interesting one, and it certainly is not an inhuman one, and it certainly is not about robots, and it's certainly not about technology. It's actually a very human story, and it's about real problems. It's about human pain. It's about separation. It's about trying to solve mistakes from the past, using clever solutions, and with very little money, putting our heads together and finding workable solutions. So the theme of Cape Town's bid, Live, Design, Transform Life, is really about how we've used design in the last 20 years to rebuild social cohesion, to reconnect through infrastructural enhancements, and ultimately to reposition Cape Town for the knowledge economy. Here's our wonderful website. And here is the bid book that everyone is treating like the Holy Grail, because they're saying, where is the flipping bid book? Actually, it's a 465-page tome, a lot of which is very technical in answer to ICSID's very detailed questions. We are creating an abridged version, which will be available at the end of May, and will also be on our website, so watch this space. But just a sneak preview. It looks wonderful. It's full of the most incredible cross-sectoral design stories. And just getting everybody behind it. In itself, if this is all we get out of the World Design Capital bid, this wonderful book that we must unlock, we must continue to debate, and we must act on, then it will have been a very valuable exercise. So it's quite a complicated thing. People keep saying, when are we going to know? Really, the bid book was submitted at the end of March. Applications are currently being reviewed. 3 cities will be shortlisted and announced in July. So between now and July, a bunch of people are mulling over who they should choose. Shortlisted cities will be visited in August. So we must prepare, because I feel strongly that we will be shortlisted. And then the announcement will be made in October 2011. I believe strongly that in the age of social media and the web, these judges who've been inundated with wonderful and inspiring World Design Capital bids from all over the world will Google World Design Capital, and they will see what's happening in the virtual world. And if what they see are hundreds of blogs and people marching in the streets, as the CPUT lecturers did, with their buttons on, saying, we care about this, we're behind this. They see lots and lots of op-ed pieces, they see media support, they see an African bid with the backing of everybody. it could swing the vote. I feel really strongly that people are looking. The bid book was just the technical thing we had to get in, and it's possibly more useful to us than to them. It was a world-class piece of bidding, but I think there's a whole other layer that they're going to be looking at to see who they should choose. It's not going to be an easy choice. So over 50 cities have shown an interest. I think it's 56 from 24 countries. It's a lot of people. Dublin, we know. Beijing, we know. Bilbao. That's the tip of the iceberg. So, in case a whole lot of people feel all glum and think we'll never ever beat Bilbao, which a lot of Cape Townians do, I thought let's just get over the if we don't win, we can't lose bit. What have we done through this bid? We've connected dots that have never been connected before, between different design industries, between different hubs of design. And I believe that the minute you connect dots, there's no going back. It's very difficult to unconnect a whole lot of dots. So that is a huge stride in the right direction. And this forum gathered here, this design network, is part of the dots that have been joined. And we've really got to use those new linkages to unlock our potential, our vision, our creativity. We've all got to see the bid as an incredible catalyst to embed design thinking in city development. You know, the city dedicated 2 million rand to the entry of this bid and the process of this bid in the run-up to the World Cup. They had big things to worry about, a stadium that was running hugely over. And so 2 million rand, I think, was an amazing vote of confidence. And the city, when they invest, they keep a close eye on their investment. So I think we've got their attention, and design is on the agenda. 2014 is not any old year for South Africa or for Cape Town. It's the 20th anniversary of our democracy. I think that really counts in our favor. And if you look at the bid book, it documents how we designed a democracy, how it was not an easy job. And everybody, from a constitution which is thought architecture, which is the leading piece of design thinking in the world, to every step thereafter, which you will see in the bid book, we've designed a democracy. We've got to keep that conversation in 2014. We've got to celebrate it, win or lose. And this is the story we have to tell. It's not Seoul's story, but it's a story of trying to solve big problems, design on a scar, deal with our unfinished business, and do something very different, show the world that we can solve very big problems by putting our heads together. And finally, we are going to be applying to join the UNESCO Creative Cities Network, which is really exciting. It links us to places like Montreal, Berlin, Seoul, and we share our success stories on an ongoing basis. So back to the question, what are our chances? I think it depends on you, frankly, and I have mentioned that. We've all got to get behind this bid. Creative people can be very passionate, and they can also talk a lot about theory, but to get them to write a blog for the World Design Capital website or tweet or join our Facebook fan page has proved to be difficult, which disappoints me because I really believe that ICSID are watching from afar. Kudos to the CPUT academics who just marched through the streets in the name of design. We've had fantastic media support. We're going to continue working very hard on that. Please join our Facebook fan page, Cape Town for World Design Capital. If you haven't, please do, and get some friends too. Because really, what are our chances? I fully believe it depends on all of us. Thanks.